here we are outside the court, but just someone who is just on the steps of the Supreme Court is our Justice and Intelligence correspondent, Ken Dilanian. Ken, this was a very messy argument. There was so much pushback against Michael Dreeben and a lot of arguments about whether even official acts excluded, whether private acts could be prosecuted. At one point, Justice Jackson saying to Mr. Soar, who was arguing for Donald Trump, you know, what was up then with the pardon of President Nixon? Why would Gerald Ford, in other words, have pardoned President Nixon if he didn't think that he could be prosecuted? What were the highlights to you?
That's right, Andrea, making the point that it's long been the assumption that presidents could be prosecuted. Look, I think we heard a majority of justices today expressing a desire to create some kind of limited immunity for official acts for president. And you heard, as Karen said, Justice John Roberts expressing concern about the broad nature of the D.C. Circuit Court ruling, which said essentially there is no immunity for any act whatsoever. A majority of conservatives seem to be concerned about that. And you heard specifically Justice Alito and Justice Kavanaugh raising concerns about essentially runaway prosecutors, unethical attorneys general, prosecutors who are bringing improper cases against presidents. That was their concern. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson had a concern on the other side, which is what happens when a president can't be prosecuted? Will that make the Oval Office a center for crime? Those were the sort of contrasting views. But I think what we heard towards the end of the argument was that whatever happens here, Donald Trump is not out of the woods, because even his own lawyer conceded that many of the acts alleged in this indictment were purely private acts, not official acts. And I didn't hear a majority of justices ready to immunize presidents for private acts. And so towards the end of the argument, they seem to be trying to forge a way that even if they decide there's immunity for official presidential acts, this case can go forward, perhaps even without lengthy delays, and it can be solved with a jury instruction saying, look, he's liable for the private acts. We're still going to talk about the official acts, but he's not liable for those. And so, again, we'll have to wait and see. And also important will be when this court rules on this case. All of this plays into whether we can see a trial before the election, Andrea.
Ken, one of the points that you just made was this concern, going back to what Justice Scalia, the late Justice Scalia, had written about a malicious prosecution. Ironically, one of the people asking that very question was Justice Kavanaugh, who worked for Ken Starr, one of those special counsels. But the law has changed. Joyce Vance is now with me and has a lot of experience arguing appeals court cases and also a former prosecutor. Joyce, what is your takeaway from this argument where they were all over the lot, and when they even talked about remanding it to the district court, this could be a very long delay?
It could be a long delay. This was a messy argument. No one really colored straight inside of the lines of any one argument. And so while there is clarity on a few issues, for instance, the fact that a president doesn't have immunity for purely personal acts, no one seemed to agree on what purely personal acts might look like. And that's the problem here. The court has to make decisions not just applying to President Trump, but also decisions that will apply to future presidents. So there was a lot of concern about the future impact of the rules that they would create here. Andrea, I think you're correct to say that that means we're looking at delay as the court perhaps requires the lower courts to make additional factual rulings, perhaps even legal rulings, before a trial could go forward.
It seemed to me also that there was no rebuttal from the lawyer for the president, because I think that he had really won a majority of these justices not agreeing with the special prosecutor's argument. He did present an off-ramp, if you will, that they could limit it to the private acts, that even if they decided that the official acts did not have immunity.